welcome everybody to Barrett and Baxa Media Shmedia. Another week, another bunch of craziness throughout the world, throughout the United States. Man, we've got some news to talk about today. Bob, what do we have on the plate?
Well, today we have bombs away in Iran. Bomb, Iran. We'll be doing that. Baby senator in California. Not sure. Oh, I know what that is. We will be serenaded by a very, very stupid congressman in stupid Democrat tricks. Why has Steve had enough of his wife's horse shit? That's an interesting, not sure
There's a
what
tease
that
for
is.
you.
And, of course, we have a fascinating look at your level of happiness based on where you lie on the political spectrum. All that, and, of course, pet peeves, coming up on today's episode of Barrett and Baxa Media Schmedia.
Welcome to Barrett and Baxa Media Schmedia. Everyone else has a podcast, why not us? Come along and join the chosen few as we mock the media and ridicule the ridiculous. Get ready as we excite the ears, irritate the eyes, and tantalize the taste buds. Okay, maybe not the taste buds, but you get the point. Let's get the party started. Here's Steve Barrett and Bob Baxa.
All right, well, here we are for another week of the show. We invite you to like and subscribe and comment, all those things that you need to do to help a podcast grow its audience, and our audience is growing, Bob.
Yeah,
how was
absolutely.
your week out there in Virginia?
The week was great. It's extremely hot here in Virginia. It's hot right now in the room I'm in, which is annoying me and gives me something to complain about. But yeah, summer's here in Virginia. How about Minnesota?
Same thing. We finally got into the 90s yesterday, and we're going to be the 90s again today. So I'm hoping let's get through this podcast so I can get outside and sun my white self.
My best girl.
Far too white. You end up very white when you're in Minnesota. You go to Minnesota as a white person, and you come back whiter than ever. Yeah.
My best girl's outside right now, sunning, so I can actually see her out the window. But so I was just reading some guy. We didn't even talk about this, but some guy, of course, some climate guy is saying that this intense heat right now has nothing to do with the fact that it's summertime, but has everything to do with the fact that it's climate change. So the great thing about climate change
is what about the cold? What about here in Minnesota?
Climate change.
We haven't even crossed into the 80s yet, and it's mid-June, and this is the first warm weekend we've had.
It's climate change.
It's all of it.
No matter what.
No matter what happens. Like if the weather is perfect, that's climate change.
Correct. And you should send money to the Democrats. That's always what you should do to combat climate change. Give Democrats money. That's always the solution. So anyway, all right, let's get into
well, as we're speaking, Bob, we don't know what's going to happen come Monday morning with the stock market or anything like that, but you're hearing us on a Tuesday, but we're recording this on a Sunday, and we have just dropped those bombs on Iran, and that is the big story probably of the whole week.
I would say so, and I mean, Steve and I we were talking about this before the show. We do a little pre-show. I'm torn. I do love Trump, and I do love the fact that all of these crazy countries, and I put Iran in the category of a crazy country. These countries all know, like, Jesus Christ, Trump is insane. He might he might drop a nuke on us. Like, they can never be certain what Trump may or may not do. And I say that's good. These countries always have to know in the back of their mind, Trump might do something absolutely insane and just bomb their entire country into oblivion. And they think he probably won't do it, but he very well might do it. So I think that's good. But I also feel like we've seen this movie before back in, right after 9/11 with Iraq. And, Iraq had
the WMDs,
that whole thing, and we had to go, and everyone was fired up. And I remember how patriotic everyone was after 9/11. God knows those days are long gone, but
I think this is probably a little bit different, though, because at least when you hear it now, we're not talking about regime change. We're just talking about taking out their nuclear capabilities. Now, if Iraq had been a situation where we said, okay, yes, they have weapons of mass destruction, we're going to destroy them, and we're not even going to enter the country. We're just going to bomb their weapons, which they really turned out not to be able to find much of anything, even though even Iraq claimed, oh, we have this and we have that. And they had used chemical weapons on their own people in previous conflicts within the country. But in Iran, I think if we stick to just taking out, at least from America's perspective, the United States, just taking out these facilities that are allegedly, they're trying to create a nuclear bomb. Or
and that
a
would
warhead.
Be bad, obviously, yeah.
So if we don't go into the country and we don't invade and we don't put boots on the ground, I don't have a big problem with what we're doing, because to me it looks like the opportune moment, and the real critical thing is going to be to see how China and Russia react to this.
Right. Yes.
So, Russia is sort of the loose cannon a little bit. China seems like they're a little more subdued in their reaction to it so far, but that's what we're going to have to find out, is what do Russia and China do. And this might be the opportune moment to go in, take care of this problem once and for all, and then sort of do a whole reset in the Middle East.
Yeah, and the problem with these people, in the Middle East, is that to them, death is not a negative. Like, they are looking to die, a lot of. I'm not saying every person in the Middle East, but let's face it, this is a region where they've been insane for all of human history. They're not going to somehow become sane. I mean, they're crazy. They're fanatics. A lot of them are fanatics. They want to die. Like, if they die, they get to meet Allah and get 72 virgins and all that stuff. I don't know how accurate any of that is, but I think it's probably pretty accurate that some people do believe that. So I feel like they're not logical. They're not looking to be logical. Like, they kind of hope to die, because then they'll get their reward in heaven.
Yeah, it's the religious zealot that's always like the most dangerous out there. And we were talking.
Isn't it crazy?
We were talking earlier about how, like, this is what we fight over. Who is the real God?
It's so
we kill each other over it.
Right. We're literally murdering each other because my God is, I believe in God McSchwartz and you believe in God McGoodstein or something. Like, your God is different than my God, so and
yours has to be completely wrong.
Yours is wrong, because only mine can be right. And, let's face it, I do believe in God, but I believe that God would be very upset, is upset. I believe God is upset by humans killing each other. And I certainly don't think that God wants you to kill other people who have a different name for God. I really think there is just one God, and it doesn't matter. There's different names. I mean, going back through all of history, you have different names for the same concept, and you're not supposed to kill it. I'm pretty sure that every religion says don't kill each other, and yet we constantly kill each other in the name of God.
I think this is why the aliens have not made contact. I don't think they're going to let us make contact with them until they're ready. And I don't know that they're going to be ready as long as we're killing each other for religious reasons.
It's
all throughout history. They look at us as an animal that has not evolved past. It's like we were talking about chimp empire. And how the chimps,
which is a great documentary on, I think
these are animals that kill each other just because they're part of a different group of animals. Same animal, they're just part of a different team.
And I think chimps are the only animals. Maybe there's another primate. It's pretty much only primates that has nothing to do with food. Like, chimps kill a different troop of chimps just based on they're in a different troop. So, like, if a troop is in one area and there's there's usually let's say 40 or 50 chimps in that troop, and they all know each other. They're like that group A. And when group A meets up with group B, there's plenty of food. It's a jungle. Like, there's fruit growing off of the trees that they eat. And yet they will kill the chimps in group B just because they're in group B. And how is what we do any different? It's exactly the same. We kill each other. We're the
same as the chimps.
We really are so freaking similar. And there's a lot of people that think that humans were made in a lab by the Anunnaki theory of human creation, the ancient aliens.
That aliens did come here, they created us, and now they're watching to see what happens. Maybe it's true.
the theory is that that evolution did occur on planet Earth, and there was this primate that evolved up to like a very primitive, like way below Neanderthal man, a very primitive sort of upright walking, but still clearly I wouldn't call it a monkey, like a gorilla type being. Yeah. And those beings were not modern humans. I don't know whatever the exact below Neanderthal, whatever the name of that type of creature was. And aliens came here. They needed a worker to mine their gold in the mines. This is how the theory goes.
Homo erectus, I think, is probably
maybe Homo
what it
erectus.
is.
All right, so the aliens came here. The Anunnaki came here. They needed a worker that they could that would toil in the mines. So they took their DNA, their advanced DNA, and these were very human-like aliens. They spliced it together with the upright walking primate that they found, thereby creating modern humans.
And the argument is this is why the missing link. Yeah, this is why the missing link.
There is no missing link because it was jumped ahead in a lab. And so, you could laugh at it all you want. I love that show, Ancient Aliens, and this is what that whole show says. This is where humans came from. And it sounds kind of possible. It sounds plausible, actually.
Yeah.
And this is why we're so warlike, because we are still that primitive creature, and we can't quite handle that other half of our DNA. And it is a fact that humans have a lot of things in the DNA that scientists can't figure out why it's there. There's like a lot of sort of missing
many
things,
mysteries.
Yeah, in our DNA. So who knows?
Yeah, and we're also a species that can joke about things like we just bombed the shit out of Iran. Yes. So we wanted to play this because we find it amusing. We're here to be funny. We're here to talk about and make fun of serious, a lot of times serious things that you probably should be crying about, but you have to laugh.
This is a comedy podcast. In case anyone is watching hasn't figured that out, we're not. If this is not Tucker Carlson, this is a comedy podcast.
We'll get to Tucker a little bit later because I do have a clip. In fact, I added a little clip, Bob, that maybe we'll use. But
by the way, my shirt, proud to be everything that liberals hate. That's today's shirt.
Everything that liberals hate.
Hate, yes. I'm a caricature of a MAGA person. We'll talk about that later too.
Well, let me do a screen share here, and we're gonna play a little song. Nice. A little tribute to the Beach Boys.
Brian Wilson died, last week?
Yeah, Brian Wilson died last week, and so here's kind of a tribute to the Beach Boys on Bomb Day. Listen to this.
Nice.
Bomb, 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 Iran. Bomb, 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 Iran. Bomb, 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 Iran.
B-2 Bomber video and put it to the song. This song's been around for a while. Gonna throw some rocks. The lyrics are very funny.
Yeah,
we could play that for a while, but we're not going to.
Right. That is a great song, Barbara Ann.
That was
trivia. B&B trivia. If I had been a girl, my parents told me this, that they had a boy name and a girl name picked out. My girl name was Barbara Ann. Look at that.
So mine was Stephanie.
Well,
Stephen or Stephanie.
Yeah.
And that's why I got Stephen with a PH.
Right. And my name is Robert Andrew, so Barbara Ann is kind of similar to Robert Andrew.
Yeah, you're Barbara Ann.
Right.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, that is a good song.
All right, so let's get back to the serious talk about it for just a few minutes here. We were reading an article earlier about Saudi Arabia and their reaction. We're talking about the reaction all over. Saudi Arabia doesn't, any of these countries don't seem to be standing up and taking a serious stand. In the Muslim world, they don't seem to be screaming very loudly about Iran. And I think it's because even in the Muslim world, Iran's like the crazy drunk guy at the party that he's got a gun in his pocket and everybody's just sort of hoping he doesn't take it out.
Right, he kind of has to go. The quote that I saw, I was looking for the actual quote, but I can do it by memory. It was in Breitbart. The quote was, Saudi Arabia is looking at the bombing of Iran with roughly the same urgency as Willy Wonka as he looked at Augustus Gloop sinking down into the river of chocolate. And I was like, that is the best analogy ever. It's exact. Everyone knows. And remember the mother, Augustus fell into the river when he was drinking out of the river.
And the mom's
he fell
screaming.
and he's drowning. And the mother's like, do something, do something. And Willy Wonka goes, help, police, someone.
Gene Wilder was the best Willy Wonka.
So good. So much better than Johnny Depp. That was a movie that did not need to be remade.
Right.
It was perfect.
Some
Leave
movies
alone
you don't
perfect
remake
movies. No, you don't remake Willy Wonka. But yeah, Saudi Arabia is not super worried, it seems. Obviously,
I think they want Iran out of the way.
I do too.
So
I
that
think
they can all be like civil modern societies.
Yes. Don't you get the sense that countries like Saudi Arabia, they sort of pay lip service? Obviously, all the most holy sites of Islam are in Saudi Arabia, Mecca and Medina, and they kind of pay lip service to having to be super strict Muslims, but behind closed doors, I'm pretty sure that,
they want to be Western.
They want to be Western. They want money. They want a Western lifestyle, and they're kind of irritated by the fanaticism of countries like Iran. So obviously, they'll never say out loud like we don't like, or we want to destroy Iran. But I think they're behind closed doors. They're fine with Israel destroying Iran, and that is kind of the way it's happening right now. It's mostly Israel.
Okay, I want to ask you about a couple of things on this.
Okay.
What do you think about this interview between Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz?
Yeah, it was interesting.
It seemed like a real gotcha. It seemed like beneath Tucker to do that because he's like, what's the exact population of Iran? And Ted Cruz is like, I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Here's the
who
thing
does?
about that.
It's kind of a dumb question. It doesn't really have anything to do with the issue at hand. It doesn't have anything to do with how many nukes they're making.
And that's what Ted Cruz said. But Tucker Carlson's like, dude, I doubt he said dude, but he essentially said, dude, you're a senator and you're advocating to bomb a country and you don't know anything about the country. And that does have some validity. I love Ted Cruz. I always love what Ted Cruz says. I think he's awesome. I almost always love what Tucker Carlson says. On this one, I think I might be more Team Tucker. I think that if you are a U.S. Senator, you should know some basic facts. If you're advocating to bomb a country, and maybe you shouldn't go on the Tucker Carlson show unless you had your staff put together a whole bunch of things. That it's part of your job, isn't it? Like, you're not some guy. You're a U.S. Senator. And a pretty important one, a pretty well-known U.S. Senator.
Yeah, well, but it does demonstrate that on the right there can be and is often disagreement. In this Iran issue, there's a lot of disagreement. There are a lot of people that are saying, no, don't be a war president, and no, don't bomb Iran. Don't get involved at all in this.
Right.
And those are people on the right, and there are other people on the right that are like, no, like me, like this is the right time to solve this problem.
Lindsey Graham. That guy has never met a war he doesn't like. And of course, he's already out talking about, like, Lindsey Graham, I guarantee, wants there to be troops, marching through Tehran. That guy's crazy. We can talk
about different politicians on the right, and we can criticize them. I don't think that happens on the left. Everyone has to be in agreement on every single issue all the way down the line. And now 100%. It's just whatever the issue is, you take the opposite of Trump.
Correct.
That's what
why
you do
they're
on
in so
the
much
left.
trouble. Yes, because Trump is taking the 90% position on these issues, these 90-10 issues, and the Democrats are forced to take the 10% issue, 10% position on the issue. So
how long do you think it's going to be? How long do you think it's going to be before, like, left-leaning media is saying, "Oh, Trump is evil and Iran is good"? Iran,
today,
these poor
probably,
Iranians.
Yes, probably today, I would say.
Poor Iranian politicians. or mullahs. They're not even politicians. They're basically religious leaders that hold all the power.
Correct. And on our good friend Bob Jordan's page, I love to go to his page for these debates because he has a lot of liberals and conservatives. Everyone comes there, and I feel like people.
And it's all journalists. It's basically all journalists.
Everyone, I think, tries to be relatively polite and respectful on his page, as out of respect for him. And so, and the usual suspects are all, of course, criticizing Trump. But here's the thing. If Iran got a nuclear weapon and bombed, Germany with it, then these same people would be saying, why didn't Trump do something sooner? Like, there's nothing Trump can do to make them happy. So I think he just has to do what he thinks is right and not govern based on what liberals are screaming at that moment, because they hate Trump no matter what he does. We know that to be true.
And other politicians. I mean, Joe Biden was ridiculous with his don't.
Yeah,
That's all. I just say
that.
Don't.
What an idiot.
Obama had more to say about it. Like Obama seemed
he was well spoken, but
he was well spoken, but I don't think he actually meant what he was saying.
No.
In fact, we have a clip that we could. Last week we did the thing where we read the statement and then you find out later it sounds just like Trump when you read it out loud, but then it turns out to be coming out in Bill Clinton's voice or in Barack Obama's voice. We could do the same thing. Coming up right now, I'm going to play this clip, and if you take the words that Barack Obama is saying right here, and this is during a presidential debate with Mitt Romney, if you take the words that he's saying here, you could just put them in Trump's mouth and it would sound perfectly if you got a Trump impersonator to say the exact same words. So let's listen to what Barack Obama had to say during the election season when he was running against Mitt Romney.
Because a nuclear Iran is a threat to our national security, and it's a threat to Israel's national security. We cannot afford to have a nuclear arms race in the most volatile region of the world. Iran's a state sponsor of terrorism. And for them to be able to provide nuclear technology to non-state actors, that's unacceptable. And they have said that they want to see Israel wiped off the map. So the offers Iran a choice. They can take the diplomatic route and end their nuclear program, or they will have to face a united world and a United States president, me, who said we're not going to take any options off the table.
There you go. And he's 100% correct. I mean, I rarely agree with Obama, except when he says those types of things. And he's 100% correct. And Trump said, I'm giving you a couple of weeks to stop. You have to give up all nuclear research. You're not allowed to have nuclear power because
you can't be trusted with nuclear power even.
And so you can't have that. You cannot have nuclear. And they basically told him to go F himself, and they said they weren't going to give it up, and they just kept bombing Israel. And so Trump did what Trump does. He, took action. And so I would say I'm mostly cool with what he did. I don't know where it's going to go. Nobody does. I don't want to see a larger war. I certainly don't want to see a gigantic Middle Eastern war. But on the other hand, those people are going to fight regardless of what we do. So we have to keep a nukes away from Iran. We do.
Okay, up next, Bob. So Governor Walz here in Minnesota has been accused by the Minnesota assassin.
Right, the guy who killed the Democrats.
Yeah, and he has sent, I guess, a rambling letter to the FBI saying that Tim Walz wanted him to kill Senator Amy Klobuchar so that Walz could get Klobuchar's job. Now,
correct.
I think it's complete bullshit, right? This is not a real thing. This can't be.
Yes.
But we were talking earlier about what if this was Ron DeSantis? What if this had happened in Florida and this is Ron DeSantis, and Ron DeSantis is trying to pick off Tim Scott? Rick Scott.
Right.
Wants somebody like I really believe that the liberal media would have said, oh, well, let's go ahead and run with that. We know it sounds 100%. Ridiculous. We know that it's probably not true, but let's go ahead and run with it. I think that they would have.
Take the what if even a step further. What if it had been a MAGA hat wearing Republican who had gone out. Imagine if one Republican state senator had gone against Republicans and had voted with the Democrats to pass some Democrat important thing, some pro-abortion thing or something.
Yeah.
And then this Republican MAGA hat wearing guy went out and literally killed the Republican state senator. First of all, think about the media freak out on that. They would have gone batshit crazy. And then, if it had come out and he had even just made a claim, I was told to kill Rick Scott by Ron DeSantis. I mean, there would be satellite trucks at the governor's mansion 24/7.
Asking him if it was true.
Endless cycle hounding Ron DeSantis. He made this claim. Why would he make this claim? What do you say? How do you prove it isn't true? Like, they would be hounding him.
I don't know that even one journalist has, not that they should, but I don't think one journalist has said to Governor Walz, did you say this? Like, did you say this? Just clear the air here.
Seems like you should at least say to him, hey, this crazy guy says that you told him to kill Amy Klobuchar. Can we get a comment? Like, what's wrong with that question? But I don't know that anyone has even done that. This is the thing that's always the case. If it's an inconvenient story to Democrats, it is covered for 5 seconds and then swept under the rug. And
like the firebomber, like the
guy who lit Jews on fire. Yes, imagine that
story died very quickly. It was like this. It was gone. Yeah.
And that's what they always do. They always cover it, because what they'll do later is they'll be like, well, we covered it. They'll get all self-righteous and say, we covered it.
They ran a VO or a VOSOT.
Right. A very well-known quote is the media's most insidious, the most insidious thing they have that they can do, their most insidious power is their power to ignore. And that is very true. Of course, the media can hype a story that makes Republicans look bad. But the media can also ignore a story that makes Democrats look good, or makes Democrats look bad. So, for example,
well, they ignored the hearings about Biden, about the Biden cover-up.
That one.
Those were completely ignored.
There was that black dude who purposely ran his car into a parade, killing like grandmothers and children. Again, that was a couple of day, maybe a 1 week news story. If there had been a racist, and he was a known racist black guy with racist ramblings on the internet, none of this was even questioned. It was 100% fact. And he
but if
was
it was
convicted,
a white guy doing
and
that.
he went to prison. But if it was a white guy who had anti-black ramblings, they would still be talking about it today. And the reason I know this is because you are still talking about January 6th. It happened 5 years ago. And I would be willing to bet that every single day, to this moment, somewhere on the internet or some news story somewhere is some leftist mentioning January 6th. You have not stopped talking about it. And
But the Walz thing went away like that, and it probably should have. But I want to read a statement just because I want to say the guy's name incorrectly. This is what I love about doing a podcast, is that instead of having to try to pronounce funny names properly, I can pronounce them kind of like they look to me. So this is Hennepin County Attorney spokesperson Daniel Bogert Pooping.
Nice. Bogert Pooping.
It's how it's spelled, but Daniel Bogert Pooping.
I see that spelling. Yeah, it looks like Bogert Pooping.
But anyway, his statement was simple. We will state only that we have seen no evidence that the allegations regarding Governor Walz are based in fact.
Right.
So,
and I'm sure that's true. I'm sure it's bullshit. But this story to us here on Media Schmedia is to just show once again the insane double standard of the mainstream media. This story is bad for Democrats, so it needs to be ignored. And
we're not ignoring it. And we are taking Tim Walz's side on this, no matter what we think of Tampon Tim. And you know that we make fun of him all the time. Still, when he does something that when he's accused or somehow, wrapped up in something that seems ridiculous, we can say, hey, that seems ridiculous. But I don't think that happens as much on the other side. They tend to go, well, wait a second, maybe that person did do that, which leads me to something. Which leads me to a critique, Bob, of the show. I should have said this one right out of the gate. My friend Wade said that you're kind of a caricature of a right-leaning MAGA nut.
Yes,
What do you,
I am
what do you
that.
have to say to
Let me-
Wade?
What I have to say to your friend is yes. That's because this is a comedy show, and I'm a comedian. I'm here to entertain you. This is not Tucker Carlson, bro. I am here to. That would be like getting an actual, going to the carnival and getting a caricature drawn with the giant head and the little tiny feet, and then being like, wait a minute, this doesn't look like a photograph of the person. This is a weird cartoon caricature.
So
Yeah,
is it safe to say that sometimes when you sound like an absolute freaking nut,
Lunatic?
that you're
Yes.
exaggerating just a little
I'm
bit?
exaggerating for comedic
So you don't think
effect.
that every Democrat on the planet has mental illness?
Like 99.7% of Democrats are mentally ill, but there's
there's
that
3%.
Yeah, that possibly don't have mental illness. But
2.1%.
If I meet a Democrat, I'll give a shout out to my friend Julie Dietz. She is a perfect example of an insane Democrat liberal woman. And really, from what I've seen, all Democrats appear to be 52-year-old white women. I have yet to meet a Democrat who is not a 52-year-old white woman. I think that's your whole party. It's just all white women who need to yell at you. That's what the Democrat Party is. But yes, to your friend, yes, I'm a caricature. I am just trying to make people laugh. And if you laugh at my silliness, then I have accomplished my goal. So.
All right, well, here's something
I
that
wear shirts. I'm wearing an anti-liberal shirt.
every week
for
you have a
God's
different
sake.
shirt with
I
a
do
different
have a
message.
different anti-liberal shirt.
But it's the same
Next
nut.
Week, here's a tease. Next week will be our 4th of July show because the 4th of July will be during the week. So I have a very special shirt for the 4th of July. Yes, everyone's going to love it. It's wonderful. I already have it picked out. Yeah,
That'll be Shmedia 19, by the way. We are at
nice.
18, so we're coming
20.
up on 20. And we're not going to celebrate 20 like we did 10.
Okay.
We should, but we won't.
We'll celebrate 50.
We won't. Speaking of funny things, this I found very funny. So Alex Padilla, as you say it, he's the
Yes.
unelected senator from California who is going to have to be elected if he wants to hold that seat again.
Correct.
So now he's going to have to be up for election. So he played this stunt, stupid Democrat tricks. He played this stunt where he walked in to the press conference with Kristi Noem and basically started shouting questions at her, and he was taken out and he was laid on the ground and he was handcuffed because he barged in.
As he should have been.
Yeah, he should have been.
Right.
Because nobody knew who he was.
No.
And then
Nobody
he
knows
went
who you
and
are, dude.
cried. But,
did.
We've talked about this, the baby podcast.
Yes.
And so someone they took his speech on the Senate floor and they changed him into a baby. And it's very funny. And another thing, we got another critique. We'll let you listen to what he's saying, but if you're on YouTube, you'll want to watch it because it's very funny because it's a little baby and he's acting like a baby, so it's good. But my father said we can't talk over clips anymore because he said you interrupt the clips. And I can't hear the clips. I said, well,
Sorry,
what do you
Carl.
listen, Dad? What are you listening? You listening for us or you listening for the stupid clips?
Right.
He's like, well, I want to hear the clips.
All right.
So I'll try to do what my dad says.
I was forced to the ground. First on my knees, and then flat on my chest. And as I was handcuffed and marched down a hallway, repeatedly asking, why am I being detained?
That is so good.
This guy's
That
ridiculous.
is so good. That is so good because this guy, how is a man almost crying because for 2 minutes you were gently, anyone who's actually been arrested, that was the gentlest, most, the easiest.
It wasn't even an arrest.
It wasn't even an arrest.
They were detaining him. And they asked him, please lay down on the floor, face down. And he did it. He wasn't thrown to the ground.
Rodney
He wasn't
King
marched
was not
down the
asked
hall.
to
They
lay
were like,
down
hey,
on the
let's
ground.
walk down the hall and we'll go talk about it. There was
Nobody
nothing
beat
violent
him.
about that arrest.
No.
They were super nice to him, considering
We've all
the way
seen
he was
cops.
acting.
Correct. We've all seen cops. We've all seen violent arrests. We've all seen what cops sometimes do. And this was not that. It was the gentlest detainment ever. He was in handcuffs for 2 minutes. Once they figured out, yes, he's really a senator, he was out of the handcuffs, and then he was allowed to have a private meeting with Kristi Noem. So he was treated special.
Very well.
No regular citizen would have been able to barge in, yell some shit, and then 5 minutes later get a private meeting with Kristi Noem. So, dude, you were treated special. You're a U.S. senator, and you got special senatorial treatment. Like, you were treated better than anyone else.
And once he identified himself as a senator and they said, oh, you're actually a senator? Okay.
Right.
I'm sure that behind the scenes they were looking at him, the security people were going, well, why did you do that? You're a senator.
Right.
Why did you barge in and
start yelling?
Start yelling
Makes no
questions.
sense. You
And
acted like
the
an idiot.
only answer to that is that he knows he's running for election. He finally
Correct.
has to be an elected senator if he wants to keep his seat. And so he has to start putting on a show, and he has to start making people in California recognize his name because
And
they don't.
I don't know if we brought this up, but the video was shot. One of the main videos we saw was shot on a phone from the other side of the room, and it was one of his staffers. So he had a staffer in the room filming with a phone.
He was mic'd up.
You can hear Kristi Noem very muted because she's like 10 feet away.
Yep.
Alex Padilla is perfect audio. He was wearing a Bluetooth microphone. That was connected to that chick's phone. It's the only possible answer for why his audio was so clear. It was perfect. So this dude went in there with a Bluetooth mic on. They connected to a phone. The phone started filming.
It was
The whole
staged.
thing was, please, dude.
It was a staged event.
Spare us your fake tears.
Yeah, he's
Seriously.
a baby, and
Baby.
now on the internet he'll
Always be a
live
baby.
as a baby forever
Yes.
because of that video
was
we
good.
just showed.
That was
All
good.
right. All right, one of the things that we want this podcast to be about is where are we going now in the media landscape? Because the traditional newsroom that we knew of, Bob, where a bunch of people gathered in a newsroom, you were assigned stories, everybody went out and did their thing, they went to their camera, to their anchor desk, to their live truck, whatever, and you did it as a group, like a team.
Right.
You know, you've got like a football team and you go out and you cover
Right.
the news. That doesn't, I mean, it exists still, but nobody watches it, and
Right,
it's
it's dying.
slowly falling apart. All of these reporters are out there. They don't even, in a lot of stations, they don't even have a news photographer with them anymore. They just go out
Right.
alone, and it's called a one-man band, and they have to do their thing. Well, now this one-man band thing's really taking off on the internet.
Yeah.
There's all these independent journalists, and we were
Yeah.
talking about Alex Padilla being treated so nicely the other day, or last week,
Right.
while this next, we want to show you a clip, and we want to talk about a journalist named Cam Higbee, who was attacked during one of these riots. He basically was surrounded by some Antifa people, some rioters, and they beat the crap out of him. And his big
guy's got
question
balls.
in this clip is why he has it on video and he can't get prosecutors or police to even investigate it, he's identified, he knows who the people are that attacked him, and he can't even take this video to the police and get them to do anything about it.
Really?
I
didn't know that
why.
part of it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that angle.
That's
Wow.
it. That's his main complaint. So here,
What's the city? Is it Seattle?
I believe this happened in Portland.
Well, there's your answer right there.
Right.
No
It
look
was
no
either
further.
Seattle or Portland, and off
There's
the top
your
of my head, I don't know which. But I'm gonna play this clip for you, and I feel bad for this guy because, and he's clearly like he's a kind of a right-leaning independent journalist. I can tell by all the things on his YouTube page. But I'm gonna play this YouTube clip, and this is kind of him talking about how confused he is about why he can't get anybody to investigate this.
Okay.
But first, we are going to retell the events of the day because I was not the only person and I was not the only journalist assaulted on that day. And I don't want to gloss over the other people who are not getting enough exposure because of my attack. At first, I was extremely angry at the city, at SPD, at my attackers. I've calmed down. I want justice, not just for myself, for the other people attacked, and for the people of Seattle whose safety is constantly and routinely put in jeopardy. This county and its prosecutors refuse to prosecute crimes that they deem misdemeanor assaults. When we called SPD, they informed us that they don't prosecute misdemeanor assaults at all because the department doesn't have the budget, because they were defunded, and the prosecutor refuses to take the cases.
All right. So that's obviously a white guy. He's a conservative. He is saying that Seattle PD tells him they don't prosecute misdemeanor assaults. Let me see if 3 white guys in MAGA hats with MAGA flags jump out of their car and film themselves misdemeanor assaulting a black dude walking down the street, or misdemeanor assault two gay guys, a gay couple, and they scream out anti-gay slurs, they scream the F word, or they scream the N word. Mm-hmm. How much do you want to bet that prosecutor will prosecute misdemeanor assault? He will only not prosecute misdemeanor assault when the complainant is white. That's what's going on.
And they know, they are fairly confident that they're not going to have to answer for that, because that scenario doesn't happen. There are not leftists being attacked in the streets.
Right. And there's, as much as people love to say that there are roving gangs of Ku Klux Klan white supremacists, that's bullshit. That does not exist in this country. It hasn't existed in this country in a very long time. And just as a little aside, that whole Matthew Shepard thing was a drug deal gone bad. That had nothing to do with him
that's
being
been
gay.
Debunked.
That's been utterly debunked. So there are no roving bands of white people assaulting black people. That is not a thing. And we know it's not a thing because if it ever did happen, it would be 24/7 news. So this guy's getting no justice because he's a white conservative. And here's the thing. If you're a white person and you are assaulted in one of these liberal, deep blue cities, you're not going to get justice. They're going to laugh at you and kick you right out of their office. You will not get justice. So, and it's a tough, if you carry a gun, God forbid, let's say you're a Daniel Penny and you kill someone who's attacking you, you are going to be arrested for murder. Like, that's what's going to happen. So I would avoid, I stay out of blue cities at this point in my life. I really have zero interest. They're too dangerous for white people. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
I do.
All right. So I've got a clip wrong here, Bob, but I'm gonna find it for us because we wanted to hear this. This is another one of these journalists doing what these independent journalists do, which is go to these protests and they talk to people, right? This is a guy just walking up to a woman, but I'm gonna look for it here in our text thread. Of course, we have this text thread that we always use.
What exactly are you protesting today?
I don't know the issue, but I stand in solidarity with whatever's trending right now.
Your thoughts, Bob?
That is perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
And it's absolutely what happens. Like, that's reality. It seems like a joke, but it's not.
No, that is 100% real. That, to me, that is every Democrat at every protest. They have no, I mean, that girl is perfect. She's absolutely perfect. She sums up what they all believe. And I see this time and time again. You go up to someone, it doesn't matter, that girl is young. It could be a young girl like her. It could be a middle-aged woman in their 40s. I saw the famous clip of the 74-year-old woman who's crying. And you ask them, a simple question. You're at a protest, all right? I come up, I'm a journalist. Hey, why are you here? Because I'm here because of all the evil things that Donald Trump does. Okay.
Well, name which one?
Give me what are some of the evil things? Everything he does. Okay, give me one thing that he does. Well, it's everything. Everything he does is evil. And
then when they can't do it, they get mad and they walk away.
Or they attack that guy.
Yeah, they attack the journalist, or they attack. And this next woman that I'm going to play a little bit, her name's Caitlin Bennett. She's all over Facebook, good. And she basically goes to demonstrations, and people treat her like shit, basically, because now they all know who she is. But she's good at what she does, and she's very good at bringing the protest right to the people through social media, so that you get to see it. It's unfiltered. I mean, she edits the parts that are better, but this is becoming the new journalism, is these little independent journalists who walk around and do it. They have lots of followers, tens of thousands of followers usually, and Caitlin Bennett is one of them. So she put together a little compilation of one of these riot videos, when she went to the protest. I shouldn't say the riot, but it was a protest. Okay. So let's get Caitlin on the screen.
No, it's a riot. You were right the first time.
Another one of those.
racist. How am I racist? You're a white supremacist. How? What do you mean how?
Your beliefs anger us. And it's as simple as that.
Okay.
So the quote
your
was,
beliefs
your
anger
beliefs
us?
Anger us. Yeah, and that is true. We know that. I know that. That's why I wear these shirts, specifically to anger you. Part of what I love to do is piss off liberals because you're so freaking mental. You're just a bunch of mental cases. The screaming, that to me is liberalism in a nutshell. You scream at anyone that disagrees with you. This is why it just makes so much more sense. On the conservative side, we have normal adult conversations. Even Steve and I disagree on some things. And these people...
A lot.
They scream at a camera like that's their idea of debate. If anyone has ever seen Charlie Kirk when he goes to college campuses and the kids come up and he destroys them one by one. And a lot of times a thing that they'll say, why, you're a professional and you're just trying to hurt college students. And he's like, how old are you? I'm 20. Okay, are you registered to vote? Yes. I'm talking to voters. Like, I'm out here talking to voters. Yeah. Like, just because you decided to come out and ask me a question, and they just get angry. All they have is anger on the left. They're just mad. And we're going to talk about this actually later, the happiness factor. They're just angry about everything.
And Caitlin, it kind of worries me. I think she's going to get, because like the woman who came and grabbed her microphone.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
That woman, had she not had that huge black guy that's like guarding her bodyguard, that woman, the look in her eyes, I could tell she wanted to be violent. She wanted to physically assault that woman, and it probably would have. And then there was a perfect example after that of what we just talked about when the woman said, well, we don't want you here, you're a racist. And she said, well, how am I a racist? And her answer was, you're a white supremacist. She said, how am I a white supremacist? And
well, you just are.
She said, well, you just are.
Yeah,
there's no example.
Never. There's never
because
an example.
They heard it from somebody else who heard it from somebody else, and they're just kind of playing telephone all the way down the line. And by the time it gets to that person at the protest, all of a sudden, you are a Nazi
and
a
it
fascist.
All comes back to the greatest quote of this podcast or any other podcast. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know what the issue is. I'm just out here standing in solidarity with whatever's trending today. And that's it. That sums it all up. I don't know why. I just know that I'm
here because someone told me something that I believe.
Yes, and I'm mad. I was told to be mad. I was told that you're a bad person, and so I'm going to scream at your camera. Like, that's my idea of a debate. And they're just mental cases.
That woman, Caitlin Bennett, she doesn't have any trouble finding these screaming maniacs.
Well, they're everywhere. Right?
And at protests, like, you have different characters at the protests. So you've got the guy who rides his motorcycle in a circle with a flag. You got the person who jumps on top of the car. There's that guy. You've got the woman on her knees screaming.
You've
got the car stopper. There's the car stopper person.
Yeah.
There's the person facing off against the police. There's the violent person facing off against the police. And then there's also the one who's trying to put the flower in their gun. Something. So you have all these characters at protests. I find it amusing.
Yes, there's a lot of different leftists.
Yeah. Different types of leftists.
Correct. And they've done this experiment where they have taken, like, they took a black dude who had like a Joe Biden hat. They took him to a Trump rally, and he was universally, I'm talking every single Trump supporter said, welcome, we're glad you're here. We don't like Joe Biden, but come, let us try to explain why we support Trump. Like, he was a welcome guest.
And they don't try to explain. They don't try and convince him by screaming at him and calling him names.
No one tried to assault him. No one called him names. Then
they talk about issues.
Take someone wearing a MAGA hat to this, and they will be in physical danger. You will be physically attacked because these people are crazy. They are not normal people. They're absolutely insane. And they're not, deep down at the base level, these are not happy people. Liberals are mentally ill. I believe, truly.
We're going to get into that later in the show.
Liberalism
Nate Silver has
basically
laid it all out on a graph for us.
It's a mental illness. I 100% believe that I was a liberal and I was on drugs 24/7. I was on drugs. I believed all that liberal stuff. I took drugs out, and like a haze, a fog lifted off my brain, and I could see the truth and see reality and see what was really happening in the world. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of nuts, so we're going to do 2 sets of stupid Democrat tricks, and this is set number 1.
Okay.
Coming up here, I am going to play a clip for you. Let me get into my media here. I'm going to play a clip for you that... All right, Bob, here we go. This is a new commercial. I can't believe that this is a real commercial, okay?
Apparently it is.
This apparently is a real commercial made by Democrats against Republicans.
Correct.
And I this is so over the top. I almost can't believe that it's true, and maybe it's made up. Maybe it's a fake.
Like it's a Saturday Night Live or something.
I had a really good time today.
Yeah, me too. I really like...
What are you doing?
She's coming with us.
What are you talking about? Who are you?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we're rounding up illegals.
She was born here. She's a citizen.
I don't care. She looks like one of them. But don't worry. When she's in prison in El Salvador, she'll have lots of company.
That's
so good. I love
how can that be real?
Apparently
Convince
it's real.
me
I mean,
that
I don't know. Maybe it's fake. Maybe we've been fooled. I believe it is real. I believe Democrats are that crazy. I believe that they think that U.S. citizens are getting rounded up. Like, that is not happening. I believe they think that people are really being sent to El Salvador for no reason.
For no reason.
Like, they really, and it all comes back to the media. I mean, media Schmedia. That's why we called it that, because of how insane our mainstream media have truly become. And
you don't know what's real and what's not anymore.
No, and whatever amount you hate
the real
media,
has gotten so ridiculous.
So ridiculous that it's impossible to parody. Every time you make a parody, then that thing actually happens. Like, you cannot parody the left anymore because they do every crazy thing that you once parodied. So I think that is a real ad. I believe that is what a lot of Democrats think. And I believe that is a real ad. I do.
You're listening to Barrett and Baxa, Media Shmedia. Real stories, raw takes, and the slow, strange death of traditional media.
I'm Rico Monaco. The music you hear on Barrett and Baxa show intros and breaks, that's me. I'm a full-time musician and the founder of Rickman Music School, where I also teach private guitar lessons. I have pro instructors for piano, voice, drums, percussion, horns, violin, and more, available in your home in the Central Florida area, in studio, or online. I have created a proven guitar method based on music theory and technique with custom-designed worksheets and videos that guide students step by step. If you practice just 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, you'll absolutely improve. My system works for busy professionals, kids, and hobbyists. It's efficient, fun, and built to help you grow into the best musician you can be. Learn, improve, love music more than ever. Check out Rickman Music School today.
All right, well, thanks for sticking with us here. We're going on, I don't know, about 45 minutes, 50 minutes. So it's pretty good show so far today. Bob, how are you feeling?
Feeling great. Let's keep going.
All right. Well, the week when we recorded it, Sunday, last week, what was it? I believe Friday, Thursday, was Juneteenth.
Yes.
Juneteenth. What are your thoughts on Juneteenth?
I think Juneteenth is kind of stupid. We don't need another federal holiday. I mean, isn't Independence Day July 4th? Like, why do we need a separate federal holiday? Like, help me understand. I think you maybe think it's okay. Why is it?
Yeah,
okay?
I think Juneteenth is everything that a holiday ought to be, and a federal holiday in the United States, because I think it basically celebrates after the Civil War. The Republicans finally getting to the last Democrats who were still holding their slaves even after losing the Civil War.
Right.
And the slaves finally found out that, wait a minute, they
We are
lost the
free.
war and you
That's
are
true.
now free.
Yeah.
So to me, I mean, it's so American because the United States is unique in that we're the only country in the world that fought a war against each other to stop slavery.
That is true.
And
we
then-
did it a long time ago. A long
Very
time
long
ago.
time ago. But it took a long time, till the middle of June, for, many slaves, like in the South and especially down, I think, in Oklahoma, Texas area,
Right.
for them to get to them and say, hey, wait a second, you're letting them go. They're free to go.
Yeah,
you don't
apparently a
own
lot
these
of
people anymore.
the
And I
slave
think that that's a
owners just-
perfect thing to have a holiday for.
All right. Yeah. Maybe
I mean,
convince me.
it basically marks the end of slavery. It's the
Right.
final freedom.
Yeah.
And I
okay.
think that if there's anything in the United States that's worth a holiday, I mean, that would be it, right?
All right.
I mean, we have Independence Day, we have
Right.
President's Day, we
just seem to have a lot
celebrate
of federal
D-Day,
holidays, but-
we
Yes.
celebrate, V-Day.
I don't think D-Day is a federal holiday, though, is it?
No,
I don't think it
but
is.
hey, I don't mind it being a federal holiday.
All right, so
Yeah,
we
so
give-
the bank's closed. Who cares?
All the schools were off
know.
in Virginia, but
No,
yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
I think it's a
All right,
fantastic
maybe
holiday.
you convinced me. All right,
Yeah.
celebrate Juneteenth. Go ahead. I'm fine with
Okay,
it.
Juneteenth it is. All right, so you pointed out a poll. It's not a poll. It's a study. It's some
Yeah.
research by Nate Silver.
Yeah,
that
it was really good. Nate Silver does
Yeah,
great poll. He does polling. But
I'm going to call it up. I'm going to call it up and screen share it. But Bob, why don't you start by explaining what this research
they
shows?
looked at like every possible demographic, and they were studying self-reported happiness, self-reported sadness, self-reported mental health, and just how.
So these are people reporting it about themselves. They're
Correct.
basically it's a poll. How happy
Yeah.
are you? And
Are
then
you a
they asked
happy
them about
person?
their politics.
How do you feel about your mental health? How do you feel about the world? Like, and in every single category. I mean, first of all, just right at the top, overall, conservatives were like 15 points happier than liberals. Something like 60-something% of conservatives are overall pretty happy, and something like, I don't know.
So you should be looking at it, Bob.
Overall.
So there's our overall. Liberals 53% happy, conservatives 68% happy.
So the way it was is that a 100 is like the happiest possible thing you could be, and a 0 is like the unhappiest possible. And overall, conservatives look like they're at 68 and liberals at 53. So like a 15-point difference. But then what's really amazing is as you go down by gender, conservative men are happier than liberal men. Conservative women are happier than liberal women. Gay conservatives
White.
are happier.
Yeah.
Black, white, Hispanic, men, women, gay, straight, every single category. And what's really funny is that
Income, household income, even
Poor
people,
people, rich
conservatives
people,
are happier.
everyone
Rich people,
is
conservatives
happier.
are happier.
Correct. And what really got to me is I would always assume that like straight people are happier than gay people. I would assume that men are happier than women. But like conservative women are happier than liberal men. Gay conservatives are happier than straight liberal women. Like every category, the people that you might think might be a little bit unhappier are happier on the right than they are on the left. And look no further than that video of
Yeah.
the people screaming. They're
Yeah.
they're miserable people. The
And if
quote
you're
that
not
I
watching
always-
on YouTube, I've got this up, and it's really amazing. It's at natesilver.net,
Net,
and
yeah.
it's what explains the liberal conservative
Right. What explains the gap?
the happiness
in-
gap. Yeah, the
Yeah,
liberal
happiness gap.
conservative happiness gap. I think if
Across
you Google
all
liberal conservative
demographics.
happiness gap, you'd get this
Yeah.
article, and it's across all demographics, every
single
single one. The conservative is not just a little bit happy.
It's like
there's one that's an
15,
8-point
20
spread, but that's the
probably
smallest spread.
Yeah, that's the smallest
That's the
one.
smallest spread is 8 points. This is this thing is amazing, Bob.
Amazing. Yeah, it
It's
really
just-
is. It's worth really looking at. But I mean, anyone who's had any experience, conservatives, first of all, we believe in God. I think that's a huge part of it. We love our country. Like, conservatives pray for the country they love. Liberals demonize the country they hate. You hate this country. You despise this country. You despise freedom. You want big government. We believe in freedom. We believe in self-determination. We believe in God. We believe in family. And, you know, we're just much more optimistic about things. It's like you're pessimistic about everything. And it shows up. I mean, don't take my word for it.
It shows in the
up
research.
In the research, you're just not.
And Nate
happy
Silver's
people.
kind of a down the
He's
middle guy.
very
He is
respected.
he's not right leaning, not left leaning, and he tells it like it is. I mean, he's the guy that they always go to say, oh, well, what does Nate Silver say about what's going to happen in the next election?
Yeah.
So
He's
from a
very
polling
well respected.
perspective, well respected. Well,
Very much so.
that was
That is
super
amazing.
interesting, Bob.
Yeah,
But
I love that.
and it makes perfect sense too, and
It
I really
does.
do. Like, here's my take on happiness. It's a decision that you make. It's not a position that you're in. Because throughout history, there have been happy people in the worst situations. There have been happy people in prison, happy people, you know, living in the woods, homeless. You know, so to me, it's a decision you make every day. Am I going to get up today and am I going to be happy? Yes. No matter what my situation is, I try to wake up every morning and be a happy guy.
There's a guy who's got no arms, no legs. He does everything with his mouth. He has to move like a joystick with his mouth. He's a motivational speaker. And the guy,
this guy's great.
Unbelievable. And then you have people, I'm sure you know them. I mean, you live in a fairly affluent neighborhood. I know that there's people that seem to have everything, and they're miserable.
Miserable.
They
yep.
just
And they
are
wake up every
so-
day and they choose misery.
How does a guy with no arms and no legs become a motivational speaker? Like, what? And yet it's true. I mean, the guy is, I'm sure he has a lot of problems.
He's got TED Talks and everything.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I've seen
Like,
this guy. I don't know his name.
He's really seems happy. And there's a lot of examples like that. It really is true. I mean, I saw it in rehab. Like, it's just getting off drugs. You just have to make the decision to stop doing drugs. There's nothing that can be done from the outside. It all comes from within. And I think happiness is the same thing. You just have to decide that you're going to be positive. You know, that's all you can control. You can't control what's going to happen to you.
Well, next we're going to talk about something that I think probably makes you happy, and that is Tennessee banning
love that. Yes.
gender-affirming surgeries or gender-denying surgeries
Yeah, can we just
in
address
children.
That? Yes.
We're just talking about children here.
Correct. And first of all, why is it that this whole all the language on this issue, it's all backwards. When you misgender someone, you're correctly gendering them. Like, if you say you're a woman, but you're obviously a man, and then I accidentally call you sir, and you say that I misgendered you, no, I correctly gendered you.
So you're saying that they want to be misgendered. They don't want to be properly gendered. They want to be misgendered. They want to be called the other gender.
They want to be misgendered, and then they'll call the misgendering a correct gendering. And if you correctly gender them, they'll call that a misgender. It's so confusing.
It gets very confusing.
And gender affirming care is another thing. Look, if you're a woman, if you're a girl, and you decide that you're now a boy, and you want to get gender affirming care by cutting off your healthy breasts, that denies that you're a woman. Like, you're denying it. You're not
right. You're
affirming
taking it away.
The language is all backwards. It's so bizarre with all of this, but it's an obvious. This is like a 90. I bet this is 95-5, and I would love to know who's the 5%. Who's in favor?
That says that children should have the opportunity to change their.
To cut off your genitalia. I mean, for a 12-year-old girl to get a double mastectomy is just horrifying. It's horrifying.
And to me, as an adult, if you want to do that, fine. Leave the kids out of it, though. And I mean, I equate it to if you want to be one of those people that slits your tongue in half so you look like a lizard, or someone who wants to put those huge gauges like it's a car tire in your earlobe, you know, that stupid stuff. Fine, go ahead, do it. But not as kids.
I have a great analogy. There's a guy. And you can Google him. He's very easy to find. He's called Lizard Man, and he has had scales, green scales, tattooed over his entire body, and apparently it's literally every inch of his body. He clearly got a doctor involved. He got his tongue slit. He clearly got, because I assume you can't do that to yourself. You're going to bleed out. So that must have been done by a doctor. He has some sort of foreign objects inserted under his eyebrows, so he's got these big, like, ridged eyebrows. So he's radically altering his appearance to look like a lizard. And I agree, it's totally fine if he wants to make himself look like a lizard. But here's the thing. He's never going to be an actual lizard. He will always be a person trying to look like a lizard. And that's fine. But when he tries to say, I want to use government. Yeah, there you go. If he's now saying, I want to use government money to put heat lamps in all government buildings because lizards are cold-blooded, that's where I get involved and say, no, you're not doing that. And it's the same thing with having children, mutilating children's bodies. As a society, we have to step in. You want to be Lizard Man? Go for it. I'm not going to pretend you're a real lizard, and I'm not going to spend my money putting heat lamps in the DMV because lizards are cold-blooded. That's when you've gone too far. And if you want to change your gender, I say you shouldn't. I really kind of feel like you should be Baker acted. You should not be allowed to do it. But okay, if you're an adult and you want to do these things, I guess it's okay. But I mean, I don't. Where do you draw the line?
It's a free country, so you have to let them do it.
Okay, if I've always wanted to be a one-armed guy because I love The Fugitive and I want to be the one-armed man, should I be allowed to cut off my arm?
How far do you take it? How far do you take the argument?
If I want to cut off my arm
cut your
because
tongue
I'm a
in
fan
half.
of The Fugitive, I just want to be the one-armed man. So do we let people do anything they want to themselves? There is a Baker Act, so you can physically take someone out of their home. You're essentially arresting them because they are a danger to themselves. So at what point of me mutilating my own body, at what point is that considered a danger to myself? I don't really know the answer, but there's got to be a point, like where we say as a society, no, we're not going to let you do that. You've gone too far. And certainly you cannot do this to children. And here's the thing. If you think we're stopping at Tennessee, you're out of your mind. We are not stopping at Tennessee. The next step is a federal ban.
Oh, you're the boss now?
Yes, I'm doing this. I'm in charge. We are not stopping at Tennessee. A federal ban on all gender-denying care for minors. We're not
Bob and his
allowing
cult.
it.
Bob and his cult are coming.
By the way, I got
going
in trouble
nationwide.
with the cult last week when I criticized Trump, but what you were
Did the cult get a hold of you?
They did, and what
they called you?
Yes, you have to do a penance. So, and I can't really. It's private. I can't really get into what you do, but you have to do a special Trump penance.
And did they code talk to you?
Yes,
like the cult code talks in code.
It was a
to
white
you?
man code talking. They did that, and I did penance, and I'm very, very sorry. And so the cult, I'm on probation right now with the cult, but I think I'm going to be okay.
Bob was, I know what happened. Bob was forced to put on a dress and dance in front of the Oregon State House.
Yes, that is what it was.
He had to dress and drag and go to Oregon and stand in front. I'm not going to play that video. We had it queued up. I'm not going to play that video because it's really so dumb. It was literally but it was the worst drag show I've ever seen.
Dumbest.
I've been to drag shows.
Yeah,
you go to like Hamburger Mary's. Remember Hamburger Mary's in Orlando?
Funny, yes,
very fun place.
Absolutely.
Hilarious. I love, I don't have a problem with a drag show. They're actually very funny and very entertaining.
Yes.
And some of these people are great.
Should you be allowed to take your children to a drag show, do you think?
Yeah,
I think it's adult entertainment. I do.
My mom took me to a nudist colony, Bob.
I know, you're a bad person to ask. But I'm fine with strip clubs. I'm fine with strip clubs existing, although I don't personally think I think they're stupid.
For kids?
But you don't take your 12-year-old son to a strip club. So to me, there is adult entertainment. And to me, drag show is adult entertainment. So I
they did it. They did it at the State House in Oregon, and it was the worst. Like if you watch the video, look it up. It's the worst drag show that you've ever seen. It's just two people,
a deeper love by
and one of them's not even really in drag. It's just a guy in like a Hillary Clinton man suit, or what do they call those that Hillary used to? Pantsuits.
Yeah.
Pantsuits.
A
yeah.
man suit.
She's in a man suit.
It rhymes with pantsuit. It's kind of a man suit.
All right.
Pantsuit.
All right. We're moving fast through stuff, Bob.
good.
Now, some guy proposed to his AI chatbot this week.
In the Department of Things.
And he's
that
already
were
married.
Very
He's married with
easy-
children.
Correct. And things that were very easy to predict happening, someone has sexualized the AI chatbot. Like, I could have easily
You think men
predicted
sexualize everything? Like,
anything.
if there's a
Yes.
way.
Correct. A man will look at a vacuum cleaner and say to himself, how can I have sex with the vacuum cleaner? You know that some guy has done it. That's obviously a true thing. So this guy decided that his AI chatbot was real. He gave her a flirty personality. And then, but I don't know if you heard the thing. He spent so much time
How do you
talking
get
to
your
her.
own chatbot? Like, I
don't know.
Where do you
But
get
He
your
spent so
chatbot
much
from?
time. I guess he was just talking to like Grok or something,
Siri.
whatever one of those things are, and
Fell
it
in
ran
love with
out of
Siri.
memory space. It actually ran out of memory because he spent so much time chatting with her. And what happens when it runs out of memory? The chatbot resets, and so everything he has told her up to now is gone. And he
It's
had
like
to
50
start,
first dates.
Yes, he had to start from square one. And this guy said that he was crying. He was crying because his relationship with his chatbot got reset. Yes,
Wow.
this is where men have gone.
Wow.
It's very, very sad.
All right.
Men are
hey,
disgusting.
Another very big deal this week was Karen Reed was found
Yeah, I don't
not
care about
guilty.
her.
I don't
I don't-
care. What? I don't care about that. I
really don't care
I don't
about
know why that became
I don't even
such
really
a.
know what happened there. Like, why? I
Well,
guess
she was
ran
convicted.
over
She was
her
convicted.
boyfriend.
She was convicted of running over her boyfriend, and then she got a new trial. And
Okay.
in the new trial, they didn't have good evidence that she absolutely, beyond a reasonable doubt, ran her boyfriend down, especially intentionally.
It wasn't every
she was
like
intoxicated.
wasn't every person was drunk. Like not
Yeah,
the
like
victim,
it was, and it
the
was all,
person,
and like nobody talks about. Wait a second, these are all police officers who are just getting
Right.
shit faced and then
Yeah.
driving from one house to another,
Right.
basically party hopping.
Right. Yeah, any story, there's lots of times where there's a story and like the victim, the perpetrator, the witnesses, like everyone is hammered drunk. And when that's the case, it's very
Yeah.
hard to figure out what happened. They're probably
And I think
all
that's the
a little
case in
bit
this
at fault.
case.
Yeah, I do too. And so
But
whatever. She
we
went
don't
free.
care.
I don't care. No,
We
no
don't
one
care.
cares.
Jim Acosta, you
He's gained a lot of weight. Jim's letting himself go.
yeah. Well, he got fired.
Right.
He lost his job, and now he's trying to tell the rest of journalism how to
Right.
how to
Which is
do their
always
job.
good. Yeah.
Which is always good. I'm going to play a clip from Jim Acosta this week, and he's the guy that spent all of his time in the first Trump administration arguing
Yeah.
with like Kayleigh McEnany
And he
in
had a physical altercation with the poor girl whose job it was to take the microphone to someone else. And he like grabbed it out of her hand. It was horrible. Like that poor girl.
All right, let's play a little Jim Acosta and see what he thinks is the problem with journalism today.
All right.
The far right in this country has kind of figured out a way to infiltrate, the heartland and to, basically pull, mom and pop from the farm to their point of view. And as it turns out, a lot of those folks vote in these elections. And a lot of those folks have been completely led astray. I hate to say it, but they've just been completely led astray. And we've all just let this happen on our watch with essentially a business model for delivering the news in this country that just does not work anymore.
So
Well, he's right on that. That is what he said at the
but
end.
he's
right.
saying that it's up to the news to tell you what to think.
Exactly.
He's saying the quiet part out loud. He's saying it's up to us as journalists to change your mind. No, it is not fucking up to you to change people's mind. It's up to you to tell people what's going on and let them make up their own mind.
Correct.
It's like he just realized that middle America exists. He's like,
Correct.
wait a second, there's something in between?
Right.
And what
They
happened
all-
to those people? Somehow they've
Right.
been indoctrinated. Is that the
No,
word that he used?
they're just
Indoctrinated?
normal people.
Infiltrated.
Yeah. And they're just, the actual truth, Jim Acosta, is that normal people live in the Midwest, in flyover country, and normal people have turned away from your insane party and are overwhelmingly turning to the Republican Party because your party has gone fully insane. That's the story. Like, the Democrat Party is just crazy. And most of the normal people in our country live between the coasts. I mean, let's face it. Most people do not live in New York and LA. There's a lot of people in between. And those, to Jim, they're weirdos, but in reality, they're normal people, and they have overwhelmingly rejected the Democrats. That's what happened.
All right. Well, next we have something that, Bob, I'm just going to name it off the cuff. I'm going to call it Shmedia Classic.
Okay.
And this is a classic clip. It's been around forever, but it never ceases to be funny. It actually happened after a tragedy, an Asiana flight that crashed. It basically caught on fire, and one of the local television stations.
That's not why I'm laughing.
Yeah, that's not the funny part. Well, the funny part is that somehow someone played a prank on this television station and gave them a list of names.
The names of the pilots.
The pilots, the crew.
Names, the
crew. The pilots'
and it
names.
was Korean Airlines. So, of course, you would, obviously, these are, the pilot of Korean Airline is not going to be, Frank Jones. Like, he's obviously going to have a Korean name. But, on the other hand, you can still use common sense as you're looking at
and this is an example of journalists not using common sense,
none.
such that the
anchor read these live on the air.
Yeah, the anchor read these live on the air, and this is actually the Today Show apologizing for that television station.
Okay.
So here we go.
Major embarrassment for a San Francisco TV station and the NTSB. The station was tricked into airing a racially insensitive report about the crash, specifically identifying the crew members on the plane. And the NTSB is admitting this morning that it's its fault. A warning, some of what you're about to hear contains very offensive language. Here's Michelle Franzen.
It all started as a late-breaking development in KTVU's noon broadcast.
KTVU has just learned the names of the 4 pilots who were on board the flight. They are Captain Sum Ting Wong, Wee Tu Lo, Ho Lee, and Bang Ding Ao.
Pause right there. Hang on. Why is this racial? What is racially insensitive? This is not racially insensitive. So is it racial because you're doing fake Korean names? Something Wong. I mean, first, if you say it, he's clearly something
How
Wong.
could those anchors
How is that
fallen
racial?
for
That's
this?
not racial. Holy Fook. I mean, how do you say holy Fook out loud and not realize? And what's the best one? We too low.
We too low.
But again, how is this a racial thing? It's a goof. They gave fake names. Obviously, it's inappropriate because people died, but there is nothing racial about it. Please, someone explain to me, what is the racial aspect? They gave fake Korean-sounding names.
Yeah,
It's
because
not
there are plenty
racial.
of names that you can ask. You know, when you play the trick, they did it. They used to do it to Mo on. Remember when Bart would call
The
Mo's
Simpsons,
bar
yeah,
on The Simpsons, and he would give him a name, and
Amanda
it would be
Hugginkiss.
Amanda
Hey,
Hugginkiss.
I need Amanda Hugginkiss.
That's English. Is that
anyone got
racially
a-
insensitive to English people?
No, not at all.
Like Amanda Hugginkiss?
Or
That's
Mike
not racially
Raj.
insensitive.
Mike
I don't feel
Raj
like
was
that's
another
racially insensitive. That's just a funny name that sounds like something else.
It's not racial. And that is, it cracks me up. This story is so good for me and Steve because before something gets written into the prompter and read by an anchor, it's not like a person called the station, the call went to the anchor desk, and then the anchor jotted down names and read them on the air. That's not the way this works. This went through at least 2 and probably 3 or 4 people. And all of them looked at the thing and said, holy fook, and it didn't occur to them that We Too Low might be a fake name.
How that happened, I
This
have
is
no
so
idea.
good, man. I
Because
love
we've
that so
worked in
much.
newsrooms where
I know.
there are at least a couple of people who read that script before it goes on the air, and they made a
Minimum of 2.
graphic, and somebody made a freaking graphic of it.
Correct. And
So the
guy in
Chiron
graphics
operator sitting there
department
typing it
had
in.
to type it in. He had to type in We Too Low and Holy Fook. And it didn't occur to him, wait, We Too Low? Oh, it's a joke. No, nobody said anything. God, that is so good. I will never get tired of seeing that. I love that.
All right. And here's something else we'll never get tired of seeing is stupid Democrat tricks. And
Yeah.
this is a trick that we've talked about before, this is the trick where you sing a song and you change the words to it.
Yes.
And this guy didn't only change the words, he changed the music. So this is Representative Hank Johnson. He's a Democrat out of Georgia.
He is a favorite. We
and
love him.
I think what happened in this next clip is that he got drunk.
Yes.
He made this little song, this little jingle that he's going to sing, and we're going to talk about it as I play it. So let me get it started, and then I'll explain to you what I think is going on here with this guy.
Got it. And if you're just listening, it's Hank Johnson is standing in his office with a guitar. A badly tuned untuned guitar.
So,
never mind badly.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Congressman Hank Johnson here with my Fender Stratocaster.
Out of tune.
Which is a great guitar, by the way.
Thought I would try it out. I hate to hurt your ears and everything, but
I will.
I'm just learning to play guitar. And it happens to be Black Music Month of 2025. And so I'm compelled with
this
a new
is Black
guitar
Music Month?
and
I
with
guess.
some thoughts
Thought it was
about
Pride
that old
Month.
song, Hey
How
Joe.
dare they?
You know, to give some commentary on where we are now. And if y'all don't mind, I'm going to just strum a little bit. Please,
Please
don't hold
Hank.
it against me.
I will hold it against you. Oh my God, man. It's so out of tune.
In his guitar lessons, like the first thing that they teach you when you learn guitar is how to tune the guitar.
Yes.
So
he's just playing random notes.
So here's what I think is happening here. I think that he's drunk. He's had a few drinks in his office and he's alone. And he's going to make this video and then post it online without asking anybody else.
Right.
Like none of his staff had any idea. But let's listen.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
Hey, Trump. Where you going with that gun in your hand?
Hey, Trump.
Hey, Trump.
Said, where you going?
Where you going with that gun in your hand?
All right, we have to stop it. We can't go. We can't go any further.
He's so bad. Don't forget, Hank Johnson is the guy who, in a Senate hearing or a congressional, he's a congressman. So a congressional hearing, you can look this up. They were talking about sending Marines to Guam and how many Marines should be sent to Guam. And he actually asked, and he said that he was afraid that if we sent too many Marines to Guam, that the island might tip over. And he actually said to an admiral who was testifying, is that a possibility? And the admiral's like looking around like, okay, this is a joke, right? Like, and then you could tell the admiral is like very confused, thinking that he's getting punked. And then he realizes that Hank Johnson is actually asking, will the island of Guam tip over if there's too many people? And the admiral's like, Congressman, I don't think we have that worry right now. I think it's okay. So.
And, you know, the scary part of it is that the voters in that district in Georgia elected that guy again.
Yeah,
after
multiple
that happened.
times. He's been
and
in
they will
office
probably
for
elect
years.
him again after
of course.
watching this debacle with his guitar.
Well, they've shown...
so after he gets drunk, right? He records it, then he watches it and thinks it's pretty good, so he posts it, right?
Correct. Yes.
And at that point, the staff is forced to say, because it's already done, they're forced to go, oh, wow, that was really good, Congressman. Wow, you're really learning that guitar, and what an interesting... Boy, that really got Trump,
really
man.
good, yes.
That was really good. When they're thinking in the back of their mind, oh, how the fuck did this happen? Why did we leave him alone here last night?
Right. Don't ever let him have his phone. Yeah. That's clearly what happened. I would say you are right.
It's like when Trump used to tweet in the middle of the night.
Yes. But he supposedly doesn't drink, so who knows?
All right, Bob, that's going to almost
Pet
wrap it up,
peeves.
except we're going to do pet peeves.
Absolutely.
My pet peeve is my wife having parties.
Right.
So my wife had a party
yesterday. Yes. Okay.
Yesterday. We had a big party at our house, and leading up to these parties, she kills herself with anxiety.
Right.
And
I know.
it's the biggest deal, and everything's going to be fine. Like, the party went off without a hitch, but leading up to the party, she gets herself so worked up and so anxious, it's almost like a physical thing. She'll like make herself nauseous worrying about it. And to me, I'm like, well, then it's not a fun party. You're not having fun having a party if you're going to worry this much about the party. The only bad thing that happened was so it's a cowboy themed baby shower.
Okay.
I don't know why a cowboy-themed baby shower.
I don't know either.
But
Got
there
it.
had to be a horse for pictures so that all the women could take a picture with the horse.
With their
so
baby
she
on
rents
the
a horse. I didn't even know you could do this, but she rents a horse.
I did not know that.
And this cute little sweet pony is hanging out taking pictures. And I had to leave, so I had to take the dad, and I took him to a bar during the party.
Oh, nice.
Right up the road, and we just got lunch. But before that, my wife wanted to get a picture with the horse. And so right before we're about to get a picture with the horse, right in front of our front door, as all of the guests are now pulling up because it's exactly noon, and that's when the party starts, what does the horse do? Right at the front stoop, right in front of our front door.
Nice.
Takes a big dump.
Old smelly horse
A
dump.
big, smelly, steaming pile of horse manure as all of
could've
these
predicted
ladies,
that.
and they're all dressed up.
Right,
in their cowboy outfits with their
Right.
high heels. I don't know how that happens
Your
either.
best girl must have been frantic to get the horse poop out of there.
And guess who did it?
You, of course.
Yours truly.
So this is a
Springs
woman
into
thing.
action.
Yeah, this is a woman thing because I actually told my best girl about this, and she is 100% on the side of your best girl. So it's clearly a woman thing that when you're having been to dozens, maybe 100 Steve Barrett parties, I can absolutely attest that you just say, there's a party at my house, come, have fun, and that's the last you worry about whether the party's going to be good, is just telling people what day and time the party is. And then you have as much fun as anybody else. I've seen you doing this.
Yeah.
And the parties were always great. I think your children sometimes didn't like the party at 3 a.m. when there was a literal band playing in your living room with drums and electric guitar. But
Well, you can't take the band outside or the neighbors are going to
then
complain.
the neighbors will be mad. Yeah, and your kids turned out great. They're both totally happy, so it was fine in the long run. All right, that's a good pet peeve.
All right, what
my
bugs
pet
you?
peeve is all Trucker Bob related. I got a lot of driving related things. People, just please pay attention to what you're doing on the road. To be honest, I would be happy if cars were not allowed on the road. Like, I'm at work, I'm trying to work, and there's all these people in my way that are like, the cars should be banned from the road, but it's, if we're not going to do that, if we are going to let cars on the road, do me a favor. Let's say there's a highway. It's a 2-lane highway. Most interstates are only 2 lanes. You got the right lane, the left lane. The truck is in the right lane. He weighs 80,000 pounds. If you want to pass, please quickly pass. Don't hang out just off his left back, just hanging there, not passing, but also not really behind him. You're just kind of off to the side.
Lingering.
And here's why. Lingering.
It's
And
like
here's why.
loitering.
It's a good reason. Trucks cannot stop. Once you're at highway speed, stopping is basically out of the question. So if all of a sudden there's something up ahead in the lane, maybe there's a car pulling into the lane, maybe someone's broken down in the lane of travel, all of a sudden you see this, you have 2 options. You can go flying off the shoulder and probably kill yourself, or you can move over into the left lane. And if there's a car just lingering there, now you're going to be run off the road. So if you want to pass a truck, quickly, right past, like 2 seconds or less, go right past the truck. He will thank you. You will thank yourself.
Everyone
You
will
don't
be
die.
happy.
Everyone will be happy. And the other thing, I saw an Amish woman, not that all women are bad drivers, but I drive through Amish country, and an Amish chick driving a horse and buggy blew through a stop sign, almost crashed into my truck. So I'm not sure if that's the woman's fault, if
Or maybe
it's the
the horse.
horse's fault. Maybe it's the horse's fault. I don't know.
And what happens when the cops come? Do they cite? How do they cite you?
I
Because
don't
you can just
know.
say, "I told the horse to stop, and the horse didn't
he
stop.
wouldn't
It wasn't me.
stop,
It was the horse."
So, and a horse and buggy blew through a stop sign and almost caused an accident with me. So that was my experience last week. So just please be aware of trucks. It will make your life better and the truck driver's life better.
And apparently horses.
And horses.
So we both had a horse story
Yeah,
this
we did.
week.
We both had horses.
Yeah,
Nice.
Good. All right.
All
Well,
right.
Bob, let's get outside and enjoy this balmy weather.
Yes, sir.
The heat
All right.
wave is upon us, and let's. By the time this airs, we'll probably know more about what happened with Iran.
Absolutely, and we'll see you guys next week.
Well, that's it for this episode of Barrett and Baxa Media Shmedia. Like, subscribe, and do all that other stuff podcasts want you to do. Become one of the chosen few, the in crowd. You know, the cool kids. The ones who were passed out on Barrett's pool deck long after the party ended.
You don't say I love you like you used to before.